All right, let's talk about something we do all day, every single day. Communicate. We use words, we send texts, we have meetings, it's just like breathing. But here's a question for you. How often do you actually stop and think about how good you are at it? Today, we're going to dig into communication, not just as a thing we do, but as maybe the single most important skill for unlocking your potential and, believe it or not, shaping your entire world.
That really hits home, doesn't it? It's a weird paradox. I mean, think about it. As babies, we were communication masters. We cried, we got food. Simple, effective. But now, as adults, oh man, it gets complicated. We get stuck in these ruts, right? We end up being misunderstood or feeling overlooked. The truth is, being a great communicator isn't something we're just born with. It's a skill, and it's a skill you have to actually work on.
I absolutely love this way of thinking about it. Just imagine, you've got all the talent, these amazing ideas, all this potential locked up inside you. That's the seed. But if you can't get those ideas out of your head and into the world in a clear way, that seed just sits there. It can't grow. Your communication skills, that's the water that makes it all happen. It's what brings your potential to life. So where do you even start? It's really tempting to just jump to the external stuff, like public speaking tips or learning some power pose. But the real work, the stuff that truly matters, actually starts inside our own heads. You see, great communication isn't about what you say first. It's about how you first interpret what other people say to you. This right here is the whole ballgame. Seriously, it's not the words themselves that cause problems. It's the meaning that we attach to those words. Almost every argument or conflict you've ever had didn't start because of what was said. Nope. It started because of how you or the other person interpreted it. That internal filter in our brains is where the signal gets all scrambled up. Let's play this out with an example we've all been through. Your boss asks a totally neutral question, but in your head, it can go down two very different roads. Road A, your brain's automatic thought is, oh no, they think I'm slacking. Your interpretation is blame, so you get defensive. That creates tension. Road B, though, you just hear the question for what it is, a status check. So you give a clear, informative answer. Problem solved. Same words, totally different realities, and it was all decided in that first split second inside your head. So mastering this inner game really boils down to a few key things. First, you've got to learn to spot those automatic defensive thoughts before they hijack the conversation. Then, it's about managing your ego and emotions so you can respond with your thinking brain, not your lizard brain. You also need to get real about your own communication style. What are your strengths? And more importantly, what are your blind spots? And finally, you have to truly believe you're an expert in your own right. When you walk into a room with that confidence, it changes everything about how you communicate.
Okay, so once we've started shoring up that internal foundation, we can start adding some practical external skills to our toolkit. These are concrete things you can literally start doing today to make a bigger impact.
Let's be honest, we all think we're good listeners, but most of the time, we're just reloading. We're waiting for our turn to talk. Active listening is a whole different sport. It's a process. You have to give your undivided attention. Yeah, that means put the phone down. Then you ask questions to really get it. And then, here's the magic step, you rephrase it back to them, saying, okay, so what I'm hearing you say is a superpower. It makes the other person feel genuinely heard, and it makes sure you're both on the exact same page. One tiny three-letter word can kill your whole message. And that word is but. It's like a giant eraser for whatever nice thing you just said. A much, much better way to give feedback is the good old compliment sandwich. You replace that but with an and, or you frame it as a team effort. Notice the difference? Once we work on the content, it shifts from criticism to collaboration. It's a total game changer. Think about this. Whether you're in a job interview or just trying to get your team on board with an idea, don't just throw facts at them. Tell them a story. Our brains are literally wired for stories. And thankfully, there's a super simple formula that always works. Start with the setup. Here's where things were. Then, the action. Here's the problem we faced, and here's what I did. And finally, the result. And because of that, here's the awesome outcome. It's simple, it's powerful, and people will actually remember what you said.
Okay, I want you to just look at this number for a second. 70 to 93%. What in the world is that? Well, according to some of the most famous studies in this field, that is the percentage of a message's impact that comes from your nonverbal cues, not your words, your body language, your tone of voice, all of it. That means your body is screaming a message, even when your mouth is shut. The only question is
Is it screaming the right one? So, getting a handle on your nonverbals is just non-negotiable. You've got to make sure your body is telling the same story as your words. We're talking about simple things here. Making eye contact, it builds trust. Uncrossing your arms, it signals you're open and not closed off. Even just relaxing your shoulders can make you look calm and confident. And a real, genuine smile, that's probably the fastest way on earth to build rapport before you even say a single word. Okay, so we've talked about the inner game and the outer toolkit. You have the skills to build a better conversation. That's awesome. But what if we zoom out, way out? Let's think about a much bigger, more mind-bending idea. What if language isn't just for describing things? What if it's for creating things? Now, I know this might sound a little bit out there, but stick with me, because this is where things get really cool. The idea is that the language you use doesn't just describe your reality, it actually builds it. The words you have access to can literally change what you see and what you think. Let me show you what I mean. So, there's a formal name for this theory. It's called the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. It sounds super academic, but the core idea is actually pretty straightforward. It just says that the language you speak nudges your brain to think in certain ways and to categorize the world in a particular way. It doesn't mean you can't think other thoughts. It just means your language makes some thoughts feel a lot more natural than others. This is a mind-blowing example of the theory in action. There's an Aboriginal language in Australia, Kuuk Thaayorre, and in their language there are no words for left and right, none. Instead, they use north, south, east, and west for everything. For them, knowing which way is north at all times is as automatic as knowing which way is up for us. Their language forces them to have a kind of built-in GPS that most of us just don't. Or, hey, think about something we talk about constantly. Time. In English, we spend time, we waste it, we save it. We talk about it like it's money, right? A resource that you can run out of. But that's not the only way to see it. In other languages, time is treated more like the weather. It's just something that happens, something that's totally out of your control. And that little linguistic shift creates a completely different experience of life. Here's another fantastic one. In Hindi, there's a word jugad. It perfectly captures this whole idea of making something work with whatever you have on hand. That sort of resourceful, creative problem solving. What's the closest we have in English? Well, we had to borrow the name from an 80s TV show, right? We say we MacGyvered it. The fact that a word like jugad exists tells you that culture really values that concept. Language helps you notice what's important.
So we've been on a pretty big journey, from our own internal thoughts to the practical tools we can use, all the way out to this massive idea that language literally shapes reality. Which brings us to the most important question of all. So what? What do we do with all this?
At the end of the day, it all comes down to this. Your communication is your impact. Full stop. Every single conversation, every email you write, every idea you pitch, it is all part of the world you are actively building around you. Your ability to get what's in your head out into the world clearly and effectively is the absolute foundation of everything you want to achieve. So I'll leave you with this final thought to take with you. If it's true, if your words don't just describe the world but actually create it, then what kind of world are you building? What opportunities, what relationships, what kind of reality are you going to choose to speak into existence?